Welcome to the Portland Film Festival, presented for the fourth consecutive year by Comcast. We want to thank Comcast's team's tremendous support and commitment to independent filmmakers. Their ongoing support ensures that diverse voices are given a platform to share their unique perspectives on the world. We would also like to thank Kerner Camera, Cleaner Path, SAG-AFTRA, Plumtree Mortgage, and Oregon Film. Find out more or buy tickets online at pdxff.com. My name is Diane Morgan-Sylvain, and I'm a volunteer with the Portland Film Festival. And with me today is Ashley Maria, the director of Pioneers in Skirts. Welcome.
Hello, Diane.
Hello. So I really loved your film. What was it that made you want to tackle this topic?
So what's really good is when you watch the film, you'll see a lot of my story in there. And so you'll get a good sense of the why in that sense. But it was actually a conversation with my mom. And she and I were driving one day. And I was telling her about a lot of the obstacles I was confronting as I was pursuing my career as a director in Hollywood. And I felt like we just kind of kept talking about strategy. Okay, I needed to look a certain way. I needed to wear makeup or not wear makeup, or maybe, you know, wear a dress or not. And like, you know, did I look like did I sound, you know? And so we kept having these conversations, and we both just kind of stopped and said, oh my God. And she said, the stuff I'm going through is very similar to what she dealt with in her career. And we both just were shocked that, you know, today's women are confronting so much sexism, bias, unfair perception, stereotype threat, and we sometimes don't even know it. Like, she said, you know, back when she started her career, she was asked to twirl so the boss could see her outfit. Okay, it might not be as overt today. Yeah. It may not be as overt today, but it still looks like, you know, me walking on set as the director and someone asking if I'm catering or asking if I'm hair and makeup. Nothing against those departments. That's just not me. And so I had to really, I was like internalizing it, and I was saying, why are they not seeing me as the director, as the leader, as the person in charge? And so it was this conversation with my mom, who's also the producer of the film, Leanne. She wasn't a filmmaker until now. She has had a crash course, but now she's in it. But it was really that conversation that sparked us both going, we got to figure out what's going on. And so that's why I say, when you watch the film, you'll see our journey, our odyssey, we call it, to just kind of figure out what's going on, what do we do about it, you know, how can we all be a part of the change? And so Pioneers in Skirts follows that story, just to give people hope, like it can change if we all really are aware and focus on it and do something.
Well, yeah, definitely. And you brought so many things to light that I don't think many people are aware of. Just the statistic that 4% of directors are women.
Yeah. 4% of studio films, so of the last 10 years, 4% were directed by women. And, you know, a fraction of that was women of color. So it's just, it's astonishing that these stories are, you know, kind of defining our culture, yet they're not done through the voice of the women who are experiencing these things. So it's, I think a lot of people are shocked when they realize how influential, first of all, media is, and then how much of it is told by men.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joan's comment was very telling when she said that we weren't even up the scale enough to be discriminated against.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty powerful statement. And
you know, it was her watching this film where she realized, first of all the stuff that she had actually gone through that was not okay. Because I feel like there's so much telling us, just work harder, just believe in yourself, just be confident, you know, just focus on the work. But when we get out there and we do that, we are still met with very few opportunities. And then a lot of people, I mean, I won a Directors Guild of America award, and I still was just pat on the head as a little girl trying to be a director. And that was really frustrating. So yeah, talking to Joan about that, you know, she said, it didn't even cross my mind, because what was it, in the 60s, 70s, there was like 5 of them, so they didn't even know they were being discriminated against. And now it's like, hey, it hasn't gotten much better.
Well, I love the exchange between you and the Girl Scouts right at the very beginning, where they kind of called you out a little bit when you said that I'm going to be a filmmaker.
Yeah,
And they challenged that. I loved that moment. That was,
a favorite of a lot of people, because I feel like it really defines where my headspace was. I was being told I had to jump through so many hoops to even be considered a filmmaker, that even me on a film set running an entire shoot, I still didn't see myself as a filmmaker, because it was all independent. It was something we were doing, and like, I hate to say in our free time, but you know how independent filmmaking works. You do it whenever you can. Yeah, and so when she said that, I just stopped and I said, oh my gosh, she's right. And I have a lot of people who you know, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, they're like, that was me, that's me now. Like, I still say, when I'm a filmmaker, I'm like, are you making movies right now? You're a filmmaker.
yeah, I think that's something that's across all professions. A lot of women are, you know, we're kind of prone to downplaying
Yeah.
what we do. And that's something you definitely address in the film. You covered so many different things that women face. How, and in an hour, you know, you don't have a 10-hour film, you've got a 1-hour film. How did you manage to encapsulate it so well?
Okay, so the film did take quite some time. It started out with a lot of research, and yeah, it was really hard to avoid. It's called scope creep. So when you're editing, if you go too far in one direction, your audience is going to go, wait a minute, why are we over here? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, why are we over here? So it was really difficult to get it to this like bouncing ball, where we go, okay, this leads to this leads to that. Especially because when you're making a documentary that's investigative, you don't necessarily know what the answers are going to be, or you don't know where their story is going. We followed 3 young girls on a robotics team from middle school through high school. You know, that's another reason why it took so long. But the good news is, we found an editor who, about 3 years into gathering this hundreds of hours of footage, who sat with us, and we kind of, it was like this in-depth recut to get it down to 60 minutes, because we knew it was going to be more beneficial if people could have conversations after watching it. And so by having it at 60 minutes, by covering as much as we can, but without going too far in too many different directions, it's going to be a more valuable film to our audience, who, you know, needs to know that for women, you're not alone. And for men, there's something you can do. And I think that's another thing, is men really are drawn to the movie because they're not just yelled at the whole time. We're all a little bit yelled at, but you know, we're all a little bit to blame. So it was challenging, and we did definitely leave out a lot of scenes that we show whenever we do keynotes or conversations like this. You know, we love to show behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, we lost a lot, but I think it's more powerful being a tighter film.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up how men are responding, because I thought that the way that you handled men's voices was really gentle, but also very pointed, like you got the point across. But I loved that you included the girls' dads. What made you decide to go after that perspective?
Well, it was because Leah Schwinghammer, who's interviewed in the film as our expert on the robotics team,
Mhm.
She said that that was actually part of her research. So what it is in the middle school years, young girls, that's where it starts to get ingrained, the biases. Like, you know, when you say to a young girl, even girls can do science, even girls can do math, that's already damaging. And so she was discovering that once young women hit high school, they're already believing all of these stereotypes is real without even knowing it. And so she said, I need to do some research. She discovered one of the solutions is to have dads involved. And, you know, oh, by the way, we were following these three young girls and their dads were heavily involved. And so we really, we stole them away from a robotics competition. You know, we said, okay, you can't watch for the next hour. We have to go interview you. I mean, it was hard to get them to come away. I was like, come on. And so you see us, we're outside in the cold. I'm like, no, this interview is so important. But that's a director talking, right? It was so amazing to hear their stories, because I feel like even as women of any age, you see that and you just go, okay, how can I be that person, that champion for myself?
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people who've watched the film and heard the stories about the tools and just went out and said, I'm going to go teach myself how to use tools. You know, I mean, personally, I started to teach myself how to fix my car. You know, it's inspiring for anyone.
Yeah, I love the story about the tools. That was, I wanted to give the dad a high five, you know, because I
Yeah.
thought that was such a cool thing. Were there any surprises when you were shooting this?
As you can imagine, this was a very personal journey for me. And so I had to do a lot of self-reflection, analysis, forgiving, I say. I had to forgive myself. I think when people start this journey and they realize how much is in play in their head without them even realizing, I mean, there's so much forgiveness. You have to just say, okay, that was then, this is now. And I mean, one of the most powerful things that was said to me, and it's super simple now that I think about it, but at the time I hadn't heard it. It was when Lucy Sanders said, we're tired of hearing people say women just need to be more confident, because what you're saying is women are somehow broken, and we don't subscribe to that. And that kind of became my mantra, because I just kept looking inward and going, why am I struggling so much? Why am I not confident? Why do I believe I'm not going to succeed? Not because I don't believe in myself, but because there is such an aggressive ladder I have to climb. And I just wasn't acknowledging it. And it just was something that I had to hear. Plus, she said, when you are so ingrained with these stereotypes, you start to disassociate yourself from your gender. And so, you know, when you hear people say, I'm not like most women, or I'm not like most girls, I like this, that's so damaging. And so I was learning a lot of things that I was doing that was perpetuating these issues too. So my biggest surprise was just how much I had to learn. And now I'm hoping people watch Pioneers in Skirts and start their journey to figure out, or, you know, add on to their journey.
Well, what is it that you ultimately hope people come away with from your film?
Personally, it's hope. It's hope that things can change. We've had different reactions. One of my favorite moments was my mom and I were on stage, and we were screening the film, and a woman came up and she said, do you think things can actually change? Do you have hope that things can actually change? And my answer was yes, because I have to. I have to. Like, what's the point? And my mom says, I don't know, but I'm going to try I'm going to try, because I want Ashley to have the career she wants, you know? And so you just go, okay, it's definitely a tough hill to climb. And you have to realize that change starts with you deciding that you're not going to say these things anymore, perpetuate these things anymore. And then you start to influence your circle, and then that circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so we really hope that people step away from the film and go, I can do something. Something can change.
Now, if people want to find out what you have going on next, which I want you to share with us what you have going on next as well, but also let us know how they can find you and find the film after the festival, and
yeah,
keep track of what you're up to.
We are launching a big relay thanks to Virtual World. We are able to take the film internationally, and it surprisingly reads really well internationally. A lot of countries are frankly surprised that the US is still dealing with these issues. You know, from afar, we look like we're way more progressive than we are, to be frank. So that's where it's a social impact documentary. I love that we're screening in Portland because a lot of our supporters are there too. And any way to get the word out, pioneersandskirts.com is how people can find us and watch the film and figure out how they can host a screening. We provide a lot of resources so that people can watch the film and then actually have engaging and productive conversations afterwards. Because, you know, again, what's the point if we're not actively doing something? And so I say this and I'm so intense, but I swear the movie's really fun. And like, like I hope people laugh at moments, but I'm like, and change the world. Okay, cool. Okay, got it.
No, it's great. I definitely laughed, and I left the film feeling uplifted, which I wasn't sure at the beginning of the film that's where we were going to go, but I was, yeah. So
that's good to know.
Mission accomplished. Well, that's everything that I have. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Sure. A lot of people always want to know what I'm doing next. And so, because again, the journey is all about me trying to figure out what my role is going to be in the film industry. And I am working on my next feature. I'm developing a horror. I'm going back to my comedy horror ways and figuring out what that's going to look like. It's definitely through the lens of everything I've learned on Pioneers and Skirts. And so I tell people, you know, this was a journey I had to go through, and now I'm pursuing that career I've always dreamed of. And that's crazy enough horror. I like that stuff.
That's fantastic. I'll definitely keep my eye out for that. Sounds fun. Well, that's all I have for today. So thank you so much for joining us. And audience, please remember to vote for the film on Eventbrite. Thank you so much for watching the film and supporting independent voices. And also join us in our virtual lobby to connect with filmmakers, attendees, and more at pdxff.com.